At 35,000 feet, everything was normal. No explosions, no violent turbulence, no desperate distress call. Just a modern aircraft, cruising quietly through the night. Passengers slept. Cabin lights glowed softly. The autopilot was engaged. And yet, within minutes, this routine flight would transform into one of the most unsettling aviation disasters of the modern era. Because Air France Flight 447 did not fall from the sky due to a catastrophic mechanical failure. It did not break apart mid-air. Instead, something far more disturbing happened. A sequence of small events, individually manageable, collectively disastrous, began to unfold inside the cockpit. Confusion replaced clarity. Alarms replaced silence. Control replaced certainty. And the most chilling part? The aircraft itself was still flyable. So the real mystery is not simply why the plane crashed. The real mystery is, how can everything go wrong on a perfectly functioning airplane? On June 1st, 2009, Air France Flight 447 departed from Rio de Janeiro. Its destination was Paris. The aircraft was an Airbus A330, one of the most advanced and reliable long-haul jets in commercial aviation. On board were 228 people, passengers from more than 30 countries, families, business travelers, crew members trained for every foreseeable emergency. Nothing about this flight suggested danger. The weather forecasts were typical for the route. The aircraft had no known critical failures. The departure was smooth. For hours, Flight 447 crossed the Atlantic exactly as thousands of flights had done before. Routine, predictable, controlled. But aviation accidents rarely begin with chaos. They begin quietly. Subtle anomalies, minor inconsistencies, small events that seem insignificant in isolation. Somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, as the aircraft approached a region of tropical storms, everything began to change. As Air France 447 advanced deeper into the Atlantic, the aircraft approached the Intertropical Convergence Zone, a region well known to pilots. Unstable air, towering storm clouds, rapidly changing conditions. Nothing unusual for long-haul flights. The Airbus A330 was designed for exactly this environment. Weather radar active, autopilot engaged, flight systems managing the aircraft with precision. Inside the cockpit, the atmosphere was calm. But high above the ocean, hidden within those storm systems, ice crystals were forming. Tiny, almost invisible, yet capable of interfering with one of the aircraft's most critical components. The pitot tubes, small sensors responsible for measuring airspeed. And then, it happened. The pitot tubes became obstructed by ice. In seconds, the airspeed readings began to disagree. The aircraft's computers detected conflicting information. By design, the system responded conservatively. The autopilot disconnected. A sudden chime echoed inside the cockpit. Control shifted instantly to manual flight. No engine failure, no structural damage. Just something far more subtle. The loss of reliable speed data. For the pilots, this was the beginning of uncertainty. When the autopilot disconnected, control returned fully to the pilots. Pilots train extensively for manual flight, but high-altitude flight is a delicate balance. Too slow, lift decays. Too fast, structural stress increases. Precise airspeed information is critical, and Flight 447 no longer had it. As conflicting data flooded the displays, the flight control system shifted into an alternate mode. Protections were reduced. Inside the cockpit, alarms began to sound. Messages appeared. Warnings triggered. But the situation was deceptive. There was no visible damage, just an aircraft behaving differently. One of the pilots reacted. He pulled back on the side stick. The aircraft's nose lifted. But without reliable speed data, the margin for error had vanished. The aircraft began losing energy. Its angle of attack increased. And then, a stall warning sounded. Yet due to inconsistent data, the warning did not behave predictably. For the pilots, this created a deadly contradiction. Was the aircraft truly stalling, or were the instruments wrong? They were now flying a perfectly functional aircraft that no longer made sense. As the nose continued rising, the aircraft crossed a critical threshold. Lift collapsed. Flight 447 entered a stall. At high altitude, a stall is not dramatic. No violent shaking. Instead, the aircraft simply begins to descend. Quietly. Relentlessly. Inside the cockpit, confusion intensified. They were descending, yet the nose remained high. Reality had inverted. Instead of lowering the nose, the fundamental recovery action, inputs continued pulling back. Each command deepened the stall. Altitude bled away rapidly. 35,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 25,000 feet. The aircraft remained intact. Engines still running. But aerodynamically, the airplane was no longer flying. For more than 3 minutes, inside that cockpit, technology, alarms, and perception collided. And despite all systems, the fundamental problem remained unresolved. The stall went unrecognized. Multiple alarms competed for attention. Warnings sounded. Data conflicted. The pilots were no longer managing a single problem. They were drowning in information. Stall recovery required something deceptively simple. Reduce the angle of attack. But recognition depends on clarity. Flight 447 offered none. The aircraft's behavior contradicted expectation. Every second increased workload. One chilling reality emerged. There was no catastrophic structural failure. The aircraft was still mechanically capable of flight, yet the stall persisted, because reality inside the cockpit had become fragmented. Loss of situational awareness. Altitude continued disappearing. 20,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 10,000 feet. The ocean was approaching, but understanding never fully reassembled. As Flight 447 descended through its final moments, the aircraft remained in a fully stalled condition. The engines continued producing thrust, but thrust alone cannot make an aircraft fly. After more than 3 minutes of continuous stall, Flight 447 struck the Atlantic Ocean. The impact was catastrophic. All 228 people on board were lost. The aircraft was structurally intact. No explosion, just an aircraft that had remained flyable, but never recovered. In the aftermath, investigators faced an extraordinary challenge. For nearly 2 years, the black boxes remained missing beneath the Atlantic. When recovered, they told a deeply unsettling story. The aircraft had not suffered catastrophic mechanical failure. The initiating event was traced to temporary obstruction of the pitot tubes, a known phenomenon. But accidents are defined by how systems respond under stress. Once reliable airspeed data was lost, the sequence that followed was shaped by human inputs. The stall warnings activated, but ambiguity proved destabilizing. Flight 447 did not expose a dramatic technological failure. It exposed a vulnerability at the intersection of automation, training, and human perception. In the end, the tragedy of Air France 447 was not defined by what failed, but by what was misunderstood.